Dr. Alex Thompson never thought his boring job studying space bugs would change his life forever. He worked at the big Space Research Center, spending most days looking through microscopes and writing reports that nobody really read. At 32, he lived alone in a small apartment, ordered pizza way too often, and his biggest excitement was finding a new type of bacteria from Mars. That Tuesday started like any other day. Alex was drinking his third cup of coffee when his computer started beeping like crazy. The message icon was flashing red, which meant something really important was coming through. But this wasn't from his boss or another scientist. The sender's name made his coffee cup slip right out of his hands. Queen Zarathel of the Kethmoran Empire. Alex stared at the screen for a full minute. Everyone knew about Queen Zarathel. She was basically the most powerful person in 3 different star systems. Her people had made peace with Earth just 2 years ago, ending a Cold War that had lasted decades. She was smart, beautiful, and commanded respect from aliens and humans alike, and now she was sending him a message. His hands shook as he opened it. The message was written in perfect English, which surprised him since most aliens use translation programs that made everything sound weird. Dr. Thompson, it began, I have studied your work on interspecies biology and believe you are the right person for a unique opportunity. I need to meet with you urgently to discuss a matter of great importance to both our worlds. Please respond within 24 hours if you are willing to listen to my proposal. Alex read it 5 more times. Then he called his best friend Jake, who worked in the communications department. Dude, you're pranking me, right? Jake said after Alex told him everything. There's no way the alien queen wants to meet with you. But Jake checked the message source, and his joking tone disappeared fast. Alex, this is real. This came directly from the royal palace on Kethmora Prime. What did you do? Alex had no idea. Sure, he had written some papers about how different species might be able to work together, but nothing that would catch a queen's attention. He spent the whole day thinking about it, barely eating lunch and definitely not getting any real work done. That evening, he sent back a simple message, saying he was willing to listen. The response came within an hour. Queen Zarathel wanted to meet him in person, not through video chat, not through some fancy hologram technology. She was coming to Earth, and she wanted to meet at a secure location that her people would arrange. 3 days later, Alex found himself in a conference room at a government building he didn't even know existed. The walls were thick, the windows were tiny, and everything felt very serious and very secret. 2 human security guards stood by the door, but they wouldn't look him in the eye or answer any of his questions. When Queen Zarathel walked in, Alex forgot how to breathe for a second. She was tall, maybe 6 feet, with skin that had a slight blue tint that somehow made her look elegant rather than strange. Her hair was long and dark, with streaks of silver that seemed to move on their own, but it was her eyes that really got his attention. They were intelligent, sad, and tired in a way that made Alex think she carried the weight of the world on her shoulders. Dr. Thompson, she said, extending her hand in the human custom of shaking hands. Thank you for agreeing to meet with me. Her voice was smooth and calm, but Alex could hear something underneath it. Stress, maybe, or fear. Please, call me Alex, he managed to say, hoping his voice didn't crack like a teenager's. She smiled slightly at that, and Alex noticed it was the first real expression he'd seen on her face since she walked in. Very well, Alex. What I'm about to tell you must stay between us until you make your decision. Can you promise me that? Alex nodded, not trusting himself to speak properly. Queen Zarathel sat down across from him and took a deep breath. 6 months ago, my husband, King Davin, was killed. Someone poisoned him during a state dinner, and we still don't know who did it? Alex's eyes widened. He'd heard about the king's death, but the news reports had said it was from natural causes. I'm sorry for your loss, he said quietly. Thank you. But his death created a big problem for me and for my people. According to our laws, if I remain unmarried for more than one solar cycle, any member of the royal family can challenge me for the throne. My brother-in-law has made it very clear that he intends to do exactly that. Alex was starting to understand where this was going, and it made his stomach flip. I need a partner, Queen Zarathel continued. Someone from outside our political system. Someone who can't be bribed or threatened by the people who want to take my throne. I've studied human culture extensively during our peace negotiations, and I believe a temporary arrangement with someone from your species would solve my immediate problem. Temporary? Alex asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Exactly. 1 Earth year. Long enough for me to find out who killed Davin and remove the threats to my rule. After that, you would be free to return to your life here, with compensation that would fund your research for the rest of your career. Alex's mind was racing. This was insane. He was a nobody scientist who spent his days looking at microscopic creatures. He wasn't cut out for royal politics and alien intrigue. Why me? He asked. There have to be thousands of humans who would be better at this than me? Queen Zarathel leaned forward slightly. I need someone intelligent enough to understand the complexities of what we're dealing with, but someone who isn't already connected to Earth's political or business networks. Your work on interspecies cooperation shows me that you understand how different cultures can work together. And she paused, looking almost embarrassed. And you're one of the few humans who has written about my people with genuine respect rather than fear or curiosity. That matters to me. Alex felt his cheeks getting warm. He had written about the Kethmoran people with admiration, it was true. Their science was centuries ahead of Earth's, and their society had solved problems that humans were still struggling with. I need time to think about this, Alex said. Of course. But I need your answer within 3 days. If you say no, I'll have to find another solution, and honestly, I'm running out of options. As Queen Zarathel stood to leave, she turned back to him one more time. Alex, I want you to know that this wouldn't just be about politics. You would be treated with respect and honor. My people would see you as my chosen partner, which means you would have real influence and real protection. But I won't lie to you. There would also be real danger. After she left, Alex sat in that conference room for another hour, staring at the walls and trying to process what had just happened. Over the next 2 days, he couldn't concentrate on anything. He researched everything he could find about Kethmoran politics, which wasn't much since most of their internal affairs were kept private. He called his parents, though he couldn't tell them what he was really thinking about. He even cleaned his apartment, which he only did when he was really stressed. On the 3rd day, he made his decision. The opportunity to study and advanced. Alien civilization from the inside was too good to pass up. The research funding would let him work on projects he'd only dreamed about. And if he was being honest with himself, Queen Zarathel had impressed him. She was intelligent, direct, and seemed genuinely committed to doing what was best for her people. He sent his acceptance message that evening. The response came back within minutes, and it contained information that made his blood run cold. Thank you for your courage, Alex. Preparation for your departure will begin immediately. However, I must warn you of something I discovered today. Several Earth corporations have been secretly funding the rebel factions that want to remove me from power. Someone from your own world wants me to fail, and they might see you as either a useful tool or a dangerous obstacle. Watch your back. Alex stared at the message until the words blurred together. He'd thought he was signing up for a year of alien politics and fancy dinners. He hadn't realized he was walking into a war that had already reached Earth. But it was too late to back out now. In 72 hours, he would leave everything he'd ever known behind and become the temporary partner of the most powerful alien in the galaxy. He just hoped he would live long enough to make it through the year. The spaceship ride to Kethmora Prime took 3 days. and Alex spent most of it throwing up. Nobody had warned him that alien space travel would make him feel like he was on the world's worst roller coaster. Queen Zarathel's personal doctor, a kind alien named Healer Voxen, gave him medicine that helped a little, but Alex still felt queasy when they finally landed. Walking off the ship onto an alien world was the strangest moment of Alex's life. The sky was a soft purple color, and there were two suns hanging in it like giant golden coins. The air smelled like flowers he'd never encountered before. Sweet, but with a hint of something electric. Everything looked familiar enough to feel safe, but different enough to remind him he was very far from home. The royal palace was enormous, with towers that seemed to stretch up into the clouds. The walls were made of some kind of stone that changed color as Alex looked at it, shifting from deep blue to silver to green. Gardens surrounded the entire complex, filled with plants that glowed softly in the twilight. "Welcome to my home," Queen Zarathel said as they walked up the main pathway. She had changed from her earth clothes into flowing robes that seemed to be made of liquid starlight. "I know this must be overwhelming." Alex nodded, too amazed to speak properly. Everything around him was beautiful, but he also felt like everyone was staring at him. And they were. Dozens of aliens in fancy clothes had gathered to watch the human who was going to be their queen's partner. His first real challenge came within an hour of arriving. Queen Zarathel led him to a large room filled with important-looking aliens who were obviously members of the royal court. Alex had studied some basic information about Kethmaran customs during the trip, but seeing it in person was completely different. "Alex," Queen Zarathel said formally, "I present you to my court as my chosen partner." An alien with elaborate silver markings on his face stepped forward. This was clearly someone important, based on how everyone else moved out of his way. "Your Majesty," the alien said in a voice that sounded like he was barely controlling his anger. "Surely you cannot be serious about this human." The way he said human made it sound like a bad word. Queen Zarathel's expression didn't change, but Alex noticed her hands tightened slightly. "Lord Vextar, I am entirely serious. Alex has agreed to stand with me during this difficult time." Lord Vextar looked Alex up and down like he was examining a bug. "Can this creature even perform the greeting of respect? Does he understand our most basic customs?" Alex felt his face getting red. He'd studied the greeting ceremony, but doing it in front of all these people was terrifying. The greeting of respect involved a complex series of hand movements while speaking ancient words in the Kethmaran language. Get it wrong, and you'd basically insult everyone in the room. "I can try," Alex said, his voice sounding smaller than he wanted it to. He stepped forward and began the hand movements, trying to remember everything Healer Voxen had taught him during the trip. His pronunciation of the ancient words was probably terrible, but he made it through the entire greeting, without completely messing up. The room was silent for a long moment. Then, surprisingly, several of the court members made a sound that Alex learned later was polite applause. "Adequate," Lord Vextar said coldly, "for a beginner." Over the next few days, Alex learned that everything in the palace was a test. The clothes he wore sent messages about his status and intentions. The food he chose at meals showed his respect for different regions of the empire. Even the way he walked through the hallways was being watched and judged. His cultural advisor was an elderly alien named Scholar Thrix, who had studied dozens of different species. Scholar Thrix was patient but brutally honest about Alex's mistakes. "You cannot smile so much," Scholar Thrix explained after Alex's third day of formal dinners. "In our culture, constant smiling suggests either madness or deception. Show pleasure when it is appropriate, but maintain dignity otherwise." The hardest part was the fake romance with Queen Zarathel. They had to convince everyone that their relationship was real, which meant spending time together in public and acting like they cared about each other. The problem was, Alex was starting to realize he didn't have to act anymore. Queen Zarathel was nothing like what he'd expected. In public, she was formal and commanding, every inch the powerful ruler. But in private, she was funny, curious, about human culture, and surprisingly lonely. She asked him endless questions about Earth, from how democracy worked to why humans kept pets to what ice cream tasted like. "I've always wondered about your music," she said one evening as they sat in her private garden. Could you sing something for me?" Alex felt his cheeks burning. "I'm not really a singer. I mean, I'm pretty terrible at it." "I don't mind," she said, and there was something in her voice that made him want to try. So he sang an old song his grandmother used to sing to him, something simple and gentle about finding home in unexpected places. Queen Zarathel listened, with her eyes closed, and when he finished, she was quiet for a long time. "That was beautiful," she finally said. "We have music too, but it's very different. Ours is more about displaying skill and following precise rules. Yours felt personal." "Most human music is personal," Alex explained. "We use it to share feelings, to connect with each other." She looked at him with those intelligent, sad eyes. "I think I'm beginning to understand why you were the right choice for this." But their growing connection was making the political situation more dangerous, not less. Lord Vextar was clearly Queen Zarathel's brother-in-law and had his own ideas about who should rule the empire. He never directly challenged the queen in public, but Alex started noticing things. Certain court members would stop talking when Alex walked by. Servants would give him looks that ranged from suspicious to hostile. The real problem became clear during a formal ceremony celebrating the anniversary of the peace treaty with Earth. Alex and Queen Zarathel were sitting on thrones in front of hundreds of people, watching traditional dances and listening to speeches about friendship between their worlds. That's when the attack happened. Alex heard a strange humming sound like an angry wasp, but louder. Queen Zarathel's head snapped up, her eyes wide with alarm. "Get down!" she yelled, grabbing Alex's arm. 3 small flying devices, like metal insects, came buzzing toward the royal platform. Alex didn't think, he just moved. He threw himself in front of Queen Zarathel just as one of the devices fired some kind of energy beam. The beam hit him, in the shoulder, instead of hitting her in the chest. The pain was like nothing Alex had ever felt before, like being struck by lightning and burned by fire at the same time. He collapsed on the platform as royal guards swarmed around them, destroying the attacking devices and searching for whoever had sent them. Queen Zarathel knelt beside him, her formal composure completely gone. Her hands were shaking as she examined his wound. "You foolish, brave human," she whispered, and Alex was surprised to see tears in her eyes. "Why did you do that?" "Because," Alex said through gritted teeth, "someone has to protect the queen." She stared at him for a long moment, and Alex saw something change in her expression. Something that made his heart beat faster, despite the pain. "The medical center now," she commanded the guards. Then quietly, just for him, she added, "Thank you, Alex. No one has tried to protect me like that since Davin died." As the guards carried him away, Alex caught sight of Lord Vextar standing at the edge of the crowd. The alien wasn't looking concerned or shocked like everyone else. He was looking annoyed, like something hadn't gone according to plan. In the medical center, as healer Voxin worked on his wounded shoulder, Alex realized 2 things. First, he was definitely falling for Queen Zarathel, and that was going to make everything more complicated. Second, someone in the palace wanted both of them dead, and they weren't going to stop trying. Later that night, Queen Zarathel came to check on him. She brought soup from her own kitchen and sat beside his bed like she was just a worried friend, not the ruler of an empire. "I've been thinking about what you said," she told him quietly. About protecting the Queen. But Alex, I need you to understand something. I'm not just a queen anymore when I'm with you. I don't know what that makes me, but it's something I haven't been in a long time. Alex looked at her tired, beautiful face and realized that their fake romance had become something very real, and that was either going to save them both or get them killed. The next morning, a coded message was slipped under his door. When Alex decoded it using the system Scholar Thrix had taught him, the message made his blood run cold. The human knows too much. The Queen trusts him too much. Both problems will be solved soon. The Earth allies are coming. Someone was coming from Earth, and Alex had a terrible feeling he knew exactly who it would be. Alex spent the next week recovering in the Royal Medical Wing, and Queen Zarathel visited him every single day. At first, she came with official business, discussing court matters and updating him on the investigation into the assassination attempt. But as the days passed, their conversations became more personal, more real. "Tell me about your childhood," she said one afternoon, sitting in the chair beside his bed with a cup of the alien tea that had become his favorite drink. Alex laughed. "Trust me, it wasn't very exciting. I grew up in a small town where the biggest event of the year was the county fair. My parents ran a bookstore, and I spent most of my time reading about places I thought I'd never see. And now you're here, in a place that probably wasn't in any of your books," Queen Zarathel said with a smile. "Definitely not in any of my books." Alex shifted slightly, his shoulder still aching but healing well. "What about you? What was it like growing up as a princess?" Her smile faded a little. "Lonely, mostly. I had tutors instead of friends, lessons instead of games. Everything I did was preparation for eventually ruling. Even my marriage to Davin was arranged when I was 16. "Did you love him?" Alex asked quietly, then immediately felt bad for prying. "Sorry, you don't have to answer that." "No, it's all right." Queen Zarathel looked out the window at the purple sky. "I learned to love him. He was a good man, kind and fair. But it took years for us to really understand each other. With you..." She paused, seeming to choose her words carefully. "With you, everything feels different, natural." Alex felt his heart skip a beat. The fake romance they'd started was becoming very real, and he could see in her eyes that she felt it too. "Zara," he said, using her name without the title for the first time. She looked at him with surprise and something else, something that made the air between them feel electric. "When I'm with you," Alex continued, "I forget that you're a queen and I'm just some guy from Earth. It feels like we're just us." She reached over and took his hand, her skin warm against his. "That's exactly what I mean. When I'm with you, I remember what it feels like to choose something for myself instead of having it chosen for me." Their moment was interrupted by Scholar Thrix, rushing into the room with a worried expression. "Your Majesty, forgive the intrusion, but we have a problem. A ship from Earth has requested permission to land. They claim to be a diplomatic mission, but our intelligence suggests otherwise." Queen Zarathel immediately switched back to her royal mode, though she didn't let go of Alex's hand. "Who's on the ship?" "The leader is listed as Dr. Rebecca Chen, head of Earth's Interspecies Research Division, but our sources indicate she has connections to the Earth corporations we've been investigating." Alex felt his stomach drop. He knew that name. Rebecca had been his research partner years ago, back when they were both graduate students. They dated for 2 years, and she'd been furious when he'd chosen to focus on basic research instead of the more profitable corporate projects she preferred. "I know her," Alex said quietly. "Rebecca and I used to work together. We were involved." Queen Zarathel's hand tightened around his. "Involved how?" "We dated. For about 2 years. It ended badly when she took a job with a big corporation and wanted me to come with her. I chose to stay in basic research instead. The look on Queen Zarathel's face was hard to read, but Alex could see jealousy mixed with concern. This could be a coincidence, Scholar Thrix said diplomatically. No, Alex shook his head. Rebecca doesn't believe in coincidences. If she's here, it's because she has a plan. Over the next few days, as Alex finished recovering, he and Queen Zarathel worked together to investigate the conspiracy that had killed King Davin. Alex's scientific background turned out to be incredibly useful. He was able to analyze the poison that had killed the king and trace its chemical signature to a specific lab on Earth. This is definitely human-made, Alex explained, looking at the test results. But it's been modified with Kethmoran biotechnology. Someone from both our worlds worked together on this. Queen Zarathel studied the data with the intensity of someone who'd been trained to solve complex problems her entire life. If we can prove Earth corporations were involved in Davin's death, it would destroy any legitimacy Lord Vextar thinks he has by working with them. But we need more evidence, Alex said. Right now, all we have are theories. That's when Alex had an idea. He started teaching Queen Zarathel about human culture, not just as a way to pass time, but as a diplomatic tool. He showed her human, music, art, and literature, and she was fascinated by how different it was from Kethmoran culture. Your people express emotions so freely, she observed, as Alex played her a song on his phone. We're taught to control our feelings, to hide them. Maybe that's why your court doesn't trust me, Alex suggested. I show my emotions too much. Or maybe that's exactly why some of them are starting to respect you, Queen Zarathel said thoughtfully. She was right. Alex had noticed that some of the younger court members had started greeting him more warmly. A few had even asked him questions about Earth culture. His openness and genuine respect for their ways was winning people over, even if Lord Vextar remained hostile. The breakthrough came when they were studying old palace security recordings, looking for clues about King Davin's murder. Alex noticed something that the Kethmoran investigators had missed. Look at this, he said, pointing to a frame from the night of the king's death. See that servant in the background? He's carrying a tray, but watch his hands. Queen Zarathel leaned closer, her shoulder touching his as they both stared at the screen. He's wearing gloves. Our servants never wear gloves when serving food. It's considered disrespectful. And look here, Alex continued, advancing the recording frame by frame. He goes into the kitchen, but he doesn't come back out this way. Where did he go? They spent hours going through different camera angles until they found their answer. The mysterious servant had used a service tunnel that led directly to the palace's communication center. He was sending a message, Queen Zarathel breathed. Right after he poisoned Davin. Can we trace where the message went? Better than that, Queen Zarathel said, her eyes bright with determination. I know someone who can help us decode it. But their investigation was interrupted by news that made Alex's blood run cold. Dr. Rebecca Chen had been granted permission to land and was requesting a formal meeting with both Queen Zarathel and Alex. She specifically asked for both of us, Scholar Thrix reported. She claims she has important information about threats to the alliance between our worlds. Alex knew Rebecca well enough to recognize a trap when he saw one. She's not here to help. She's here to cause trouble. Queen Zarathel looked at him with concern. Are you still in love with her? The question caught Alex off guard. No, he said immediately, then realized he needed to be more honest. I thought I was, years ago. But that was before I knew what real love felt like. Queen Zarathel's expression softened. Alex, I love you, he said, the words coming out before he could stop them. I know this started as a fake arrangement, and I know you're a queen and I'm nobody special, but I love you. Really love you. She stared at him for a long moment, and Alex worried he'd ruined everything. Then she smiled, the first completely happy smile he'd seen from her since they'd met. "You're wrong about one thing," she said softly. "You're not nobody special. You're the first person in my life who chose to be with me just because you wanted to be. And I love you too." They were still holding each other when Scholar Thrix came back with urgent news. "Your Majesty, Dr. Chen's ship has landed, but our scanners detected something unusual. She's not alone, and some of her companions are carrying weapons that aren't listed on their diplomatic permits." Alex felt the happiness of the last few minutes drain away. Rebecca was here, she was armed, and she definitely had a plan. Whatever happened next, he knew their peaceful time of falling in love and solving mysteries was about to end. "She wants to meet tomorrow," Scholar Thrix continued, "in the formal throne room with the full court present." Queen Zarathel squeezed Alex's hand. "Then we'll meet her. But Alex, I need you to be careful. If she's here to hurt you or use you against me, I won't let that happen. And I won't let anyone hurt you," Alex replied. "We're in this together now." As they prepared for what was obviously going to be a confrontation, Alex realized that whatever Rebecca had planned, she was too late. He'd already made his choice, and it wasn't the same choice he would have made a year ago. He wasn't the same person he'd been when he left Earth. He was in love with an alien queen. He was helping to solve an interstellar conspiracy, and tomorrow, he was going to have to face his past to protect his future. The formal throne room had never felt bigger or more intimidating to Alex. Hundreds of court members filled the space, all dressed in their finest robes, all watching as Dr. Rebecca Chen walked in with her diplomatic team. Alex recognized her immediately, even though she looked different from the grad student he'd once known. Her hair was shorter, her clothes were expensive, and she carried herself with the confidence of someone who'd climbed very high in the corporate world. Queen Zarathel sat on her throne wearing the most elaborate outfit Alex had ever seen her in. Her crown caught the light from the crystal chandeliers, and her expression was perfectly controlled. Alex stood beside her, trying to look more confident than he felt. "Your Majesty," Rebecca said with a bow that was technically correct, but somehow felt mocking. "Thank you for agreeing to meet with our diplomatic mission." "Dr. Chen," Queen Zarathel replied formally, "we welcome Earth's representatives to our court." Rebecca's eyes found Alex, and her smile was sharp. "Hello, Alex. You look different." "Hello, Rebecca." Alex kept his voice steady, though his heart was beating fast. "It's been a long time." "Not long enough for you to forget your real home, I hope," Rebecca said. Then louder, addressing the entire court, "I'm here because Earth's government has received disturbing reports about one of our citizens being held against his will." A murmur ran through the crowd. Alex felt Queen Zarathel tense beside him. "I'm not being held against anything," Alex said firmly. "I'm here by choice." "Are you?" Rebecca pulled out a small device that projected a hologram for everyone to see. "Because our intelligence suggests that you've been compromised by alien influence, perhaps even mind control." The hologram showed altered recordings of Alex and Queen Zarathel together, but the images were edited to make it look like she was using some kind of mental power on him. Alex realized with horror that Rebecca had been spying on them for weeks. "That's not real," Alex protested, but he could see that some of the court members were starting to look suspicious. Lord Vextar stepped forward with obvious satisfaction. "These are very serious accusations, sister-in-law. If the human has been compromised, then your entire partnership is invalid." Queen Zarathel stood up slowly, and when she spoke, her voice could have frozen fire. "Are you suggesting that I would use illegal mental manipulation on a guest in my court?" "I'm suggesting," Rebecca said smoothly, that Alex needs to undergo Earth's standard diplomatic health screening to prove he's still mentally competent. If he refuses, then we have to assume the worst. Alex realized this was the trap. Rebecca knew he couldn't prove he hadn't been mentally influenced because there was no way to prove a negative. But if he submitted to Earth's screening, they could declare him unfit and force him to return home. "And if I agree to this screening?" Alex asked. Rebecca's smile got wider. "Then you come back to Earth with us where you belong. We can work together again, Alex, like old times." "What? If the screening proves I'm fine? Then you're free to make your own choices," Rebecca said, but something in her eyes told Alex she had no intention of letting that happen. Queen Zarathel looked at Alex, and he could see the pain in her expression. She was trying to figure out how to protect him without starting a war with Earth. "There is another way," Lord Vextar announced. "According to our ancient laws, when the mental fitness of a royal consort is questioned, they may choose to undergo the trial of truth." Alex had heard about the trial of truth from scholar Thrix. It was an old Kethmoran tradition where a person's thoughts and memories were examined by the court's psychic readers. It was dangerous because the mental probe could cause permanent damage if something went wrong. "Absolutely not," Queen Zarathel said immediately. "I forbid it." "With respect, Your Majesty," Lord Vexistar said with fake politeness, "the law is clear. The choice belongs to the consort, not to you." Alex understood what was happening. Lord Vextar was working with Rebecca. They were trying to force him into a situation where he'd either have to leave with Rebecca or risk his life in the trial of truth. Either way, Queen Zarathel would lose her partner and become vulnerable to challenge. "I'll do it," Alex said quietly. "Alex, no!" Queen Zarathel grabbed his arm. "You don't understand what you're risking." "Yes, I do." Alex looked into her eyes, trying to show her that he knew exactly what he was doing. "But I also know that the truth will prove I'm here because I want to be. Because I love you." The court erupted in surprised murmurs. Alex had just declared his love for their queen in front of everyone, which was either very romantic or very stupid, depending on how you looked at it. Rebecca's confident expression faltered for the first time. "Alex, don't be ridiculous. You barely know this alien. Come home with me, and we can sort this out properly." "She's not this alien," Alex said, his voice getting stronger. "Her name is Zarathel. She's brilliant and kind and brave, and she's the person I choose to be with. Not because of mind control or alien influence, but because I love her." Queen Zarathel stared at him with something between admiration and terror. "Alex, the trial could kill you." "Then at least everyone will know the truth before I die," Alex replied. The preparation for the trial of truth took 2 hours. Alex was brought to a special chamber deep in the palace, where 3 elderly Kethmoran psychics waited with equipment that looked like a cross between a medical scanner and a torture device. Queen Zarathel came to see him before the trial began. She was trying not to cry, which made Alex's chest tight with emotion. "You don't have to do this," she said for the 10th time. "We can find another way." "No, we can't," Alex said gently. "Rebecca won't stop until she gets what she wants, and Lord Vexitar is using this whole situation to challenge your authority. This is the only way to end it." "What if the probe shows something we don't expect?" Queen Zarathel asked quietly. "What if you realize that your feelings aren't real?" Alex took her hands in his. "Zara, I've never been more sure of anything in my life. Whatever that machine shows, it's going to prove that I love you completely and voluntarily." The trial of truth was the most painful thing Alex had ever experienced. The psychic probe felt like someone was taking his brain apart piece by piece and examining every thought he'd ever had. But he held on to one clear thought throughout the entire ordeal. His love for Queen Zarathel was real, and he wanted everyone to know it. When it was over, the lead psychic announced the results to the packed courtroom. The human Alex Thompson has been examined thoroughly, the psychic declared. His mind shows no signs of external influence, manipulation, or coercion. His feelings for Queen Zarathel are genuine and freely chosen. Furthermore, his loyalty to our people and our ways is absolute. He has proven himself worthy of trust. The court burst into applause, but Rebecca wasn't finished. "This is all very touching," she said loudly, "but it doesn't change the fact that Alex is a human citizen who needs to return to Earth." That's when Queen Zarathel stood up and did something that shocked everyone, including Alex. "Dr. Chen," she said formally, "I challenge you to provide proof of your authority to remove Alex from our court." Rebecca hesitated, and Alex realized she'd made a mistake. "I represent Earth's government." "Do you?" Queen Zarathel interrupted. "Because my intelligence sources suggest you represent certain Earth corporations who have been funding rebellion against my rule. The same corporations that were involved in my husband's murder." The room went completely silent. Queen Zarathel had just accused Rebecca of being part of an assassination plot. Rebecca's mask finally slipped completely. "You can't prove any of that." "Actually," Alex said, finding his voice, "we can." Queen Zarathel nodded to Scholar Thrix, who activated a large display screen. The evidence they'd gathered over the past weeks filled the screen. Financial records, communication logs, and the decoded message from the night King Davin died. The message sent from our palace the night of the king's death went directly to a facility owned by Chen Industries, Queen Zarathel announced. "Dr. Rebecca Chen is not just the company founder's daughter, she's been coordinating the conspiracy from the beginning." Rebecca looked around the room, realizing that her plan had completely fallen apart. "This is ridiculous. Alex, you can't believe—" "I believe the woman I love," Alex said firmly. "And I believe the evidence. Rebecca, why did you really come here?" For a moment, Rebecca looked like the woman Alex had once cared about, vulnerable and desperate. Then her expression hardened again. "Because you were supposed to be my partner," she said angrily. "We were supposed to build something together. Instead, you threw it all away for some alien fantasy." "I didn't throw anything away," Alex replied sadly. "I found something better than I ever imagined possible." Rebecca activated a device on her wrist, and suddenly alarms started blaring throughout the palace. "If I can't have you back, Alex, then no one can have you." Armed soldiers in Earth military gear burst into the throne room as Rebecca's diplomatic mission revealed itself to be an invasion force. The battle for the future of both their worlds had begun. The battle in the throne room was chaos. Earth soldiers were shooting energy weapons while Keth-Moran guards fought back with their own advanced technology. Alex grabbed Queen Zarathel's hand and pulled her behind her throne as energy blasts flew overhead. "The escape tunnel!" Queen Zarathel shouted over the noise. "We need to get to the command center." But as they ran through the palace corridors, Alex realized something that made his heart sink. Rebecca hadn't come here just to take him back to Earth. She'd come to eliminate both him and Queen Zarathel so that Lord Vextar could take over with Earth corporate backing. "Zara, this isn't just about me," Alex said as they reached the command center. "They want you dead." "I know," Queen Zarathel replied, already working at the control panels. "But they made one mistake. They assumed our people would panic and surrender." She activated the palace's communication system, and her voice echoed throughout the capital city. "My people, we are under attack by Earth forces working with traitors. In our own court. But we will not yield to those who killed your king and threaten your freedom." The response was immediate. Alex watched on the monitors as Keth-Moran citizens poured into the streets, not to flee, but to defend their queen. Military units that had been wavering in their loyalty saw their people's determination and joined the fight against the invaders. You did it, Alex said with amazement. You united them. We did it, Queen Zarathel corrected him. Your willingness to undergo the trial of truth showed everyone that love can bridge any gap. That gave them hope. But their victory was short-lived. Rebecca's voice came over the communication system, somehow having taken control of the emergency broadcast network. People of Kethmora, Rebecca announced. Your queen has been corrupted by alien influences and can no longer be trusted to rule. Earth forces are here to restore order and install Lord Vextar as your rightful leader. She's in the main communication tower, Queen Zarathel said, studying her displays. If we can reach her there? We? Alex looked at her with concern. Zara, you're the queen. You need to stay safe and coordinate the defense. And you're my partner, she replied firmly. We face this together. Fighting their way through. The palace to the communication tower was like something out of an action movie, except the danger was completely real. Alex had never been in combat before, but adrenaline and determination kept him moving. Queen Zarathel fought beside him with skills that reminded Alex she'd been trained for warfare since childhood. When they finally reached the communication tower, they found Rebecca waiting for them with a small group of Earth soldiers. But she wasn't pointing her weapon at Queen Zarathel. She was pointing it at Alex. Hello again, Rebecca said with a cold smile. I was hoping we'd get a chance to talk privately. It's over, Rebecca, Alex said, trying to keep his voice steady. Your invasion failed. The Kethmoran people have rejected Lord Vextar. Maybe, Rebecca replied, but I still have one card left to play. You. She pressed a button on her device, and holographic screens appeared around them showing news broadcasts. From Earth. Alex's stomach dropped as he realized what he was seeing. Earth's government has declared you a traitor, Rebecca announced. Official charges include abandoning your post, sharing classified information with hostile aliens, and conspiracy against human interests. The penalty is life in prison. Queen. Zarathel stepped forward. He's under my protection as a diplomatic partner. Not anymore, Rebecca replied. Earth is withdrawing from all treaties with Kethmora. Alex's diplomatic immunity is cancelled. He can come with me now and maybe avoid the worst punishment, or he can stay here and spend the rest of his life as a fugitive from his own species. Alex felt like the world was spinning around him. Everything they'd fought for, everything they'd built together, was being destroyed by politics and corporate greed. There's something else, Rebecca continued, enjoying their distress. Earth's military is preparing a full-scale invasion fleet. They'll be here in 6 months, and when they arrive, they'll turn this planet into a mining colony. The only way to stop that is if Lord Vextar is ruling and willing to negotiate. You're lying, Queen Zarathel said. But Alex could hear the uncertainty in her voice. Rebecca smiled. Am I? Ask yourself, Your Majesty, is one human really worth the destruction of your entire world? Alex looked at Queen Zarathel and saw the terrible choice she was facing. Save him and watch her people suffer, or let him go and protect everyone she'd sworn to defend. Zara, Alex said quietly, maybe she's right. Maybe I should... No. Queen Zarathel's voice was firm. I won't let them manipulate us with threats and fear. She activated her own communication device and did something that shocked everyone in the room. She called Earth's president directly, patching the conversation through to every screen in both the palace and the city. President Martinez, Queen Zarathel said formally when the connection opened, I need to know if you authorized an invasion of my world. The president looked confused and alarmed. Your Majesty, absolutely not. We have no hostile intentions toward Kethmora. In fact, I was under the impression that our diplomatic relations were improving. Rebecca's face went pale, as she realized her lie had been exposed in the most public way possible. Then perhaps, Queen Zarathel continued, You'd be interested to know that rogue elements from your world have been operating on my planet without authorization, including an attempt to assassinate me and my diplomatic partner." President Martinez's expression darkened. "Dr. Chen, you told us this was an authorized rescue mission." "It is authorized," Rebecca protested, but she sounded desperate now. "The corporation I represent has every right to—" "A corporation is not the Earth government," President Martinez cut her off. "Dr. Chen, you and your people are ordered to surrender immediately to Kethmoran authorities." Alex watched Rebecca's carefully planned conspiracy fall apart in real time. Her Earth military support evaporated as President Martinez ordered them to stand down. Her alien allies disappeared as Lord Vextar was arrested for treason. Everything she'd worked for was collapsing around her. "This isn't over," Rebecca said, backing toward the window. "Alex, last chance. Come with me now, or spend your life running from both our worlds." "I already made my choice," Alex replied. He walked over to Queen Zarathel and took her hand. "I choose love over fear. I choose hope over hate. And I choose Zara over everyone and everything else." Rebecca stared at them for a long moment, then activated some kind of escape device and disappeared in a flash of light. Alex realized she'd probably had an escape plan all along, but knowing Rebecca, this wouldn't be the last they'd see of her. In the weeks that followed, the political situation resolved itself surprisingly well. President Martinez personally apologized to Queen Zarathel and offered Alex full diplomatic immunity as an official Earth ambassador to Kethmora. The corporate conspiracy was exposed and prosecuted, leading to new laws about unauthorized alien contact. But the most important change was personal. 3 months after the invasion attempt, Queen Zarathel came to Alex with news that changed everything again. "Alex," she said, her hands shaking slightly as she held a medical report, "I need to tell you something impossible." "What is it?" Alex asked, concerned by her expression. "I'm pregnant," she said quietly, "which according to every scientific study ever done should be completely impossible between our species." Alex stared at her, his mind trying to process what she'd just said. "Are you sure? The medical scans are clear. Somehow, against all biological probability, we created a life together." Queen Zarathel looked up at him with wonder and fear in her eyes. "Alex, this child could change everything. We know about life in the universe." Alex felt tears starting to form in his eyes. "Are you happy about it?" Queen Zarathel smiled, the radiant expression he'd fallen in love with. "I'm terrified and thrilled and completely amazed all at the same time." Alex pulled her into his arms, holding her close. "Then we'll figure it out together. Whatever comes next, we'll face it together." 6 months later, Alex stood on a balcony overlooking the capital city of Kethmora Prime, watching the sunset paint the purple sky in shades of gold and pink. Queen Zarathel joined him, their infant daughter sleeping peacefully in her arms. Little Zara had her mother's intelligence and her father's curiosity, plus abilities that neither species had ever seen before. She could understand both human and Kethmoran languages instinctively, and sometimes Alex swore she was reading their thoughts. "Do you ever regret it?" Queen Zarathel asked quietly. "Giving up your old life for all this?" Alex looked at his alien queen wife and their impossible daughter, then out at the city that had become his home. He thought about the research facilities they were building together, the new treaties between their worlds, and the future they were creating. "Never," he said, meaning it completely. "That widowed alien queen who asked me to be her temporary partner gave me everything I never knew I wanted." Queen Zarathel laughed, the sound like music in the alien air. "And that temporary partner who agreed to help me became the love of my life.